The Brady Bunch. Loving, wholesome, America's perfect TV family.
We weren't taking on topical issues of the day.
Didn't all fit in. That's probably why it's a success.
But behind the scenes, things weren't perfect.
He would be so hard on directors.
Despite bad reviews and low ratings, The Brady Bunch became a phenomenon.
The following that we had was certainly passionate.
Brady Bunch will never, ever die.
Here's the story of a lovely lady who was bringing up three very lovely girls.
2 hip parents. 6 sweet kids. And a comic housekeeper. Forming one lovable clan, the Brady Bunch. For 5 years, the Brady Bunch was a Friday night fixture on ABC. Carol and Mike were the loving mum and dad.
If I could tell you the millions of young people that come up to me and tell me how important I was in their childhood, could they just have a hug?
Greg, Peter, and Bobby, Mike's 3 dark-haired boys.
Sherwood brought everyone together and brought me in the room and said, "Here's your new family, Mike."
Marcia, Jan, and Cindy. Carol's 3 blonde-haired girls, the youngest still tiny.
Growing up in front of the country is embarrassing. It's embarrassing enough growing up. You really don't want to do that on TV.
Let's not forget Alice.
Poor Alice had no wardrobe. I mean, that's a shame.
How do you like this one, Mrs. Brady?
And also, I think she worked literally 17 hours a day straight, never complained.
This story of 2 single parents blending their families effortlessly became a pop culture sensation.
Anybody who tells you that he knows his show is going to be a phenomenon or an icon or whatever is really speaking out of past history, because nobody knows that.
I think it's such a gentle, sweet show.
We genuinely liked each other and got along, and I think that translates through the screen.
There were lots of memorable moments.
Do I think Peter threw the football on purpose onto Marcia's nose?
Hey, you guys. Oh, my nose!
I've never told anyone this before. Absolutely.
The plots were simple and safe.
Typical Brady plot goes like this. Family has a problem. Dad yells at the family.
Your mother and I expect an answer.
Family solves the problem. And suddenly, for no reason, there's a square dance.
They didn't deal with, pregnancy. They didn't deal with sex. They didn't deal with drugs.
I don't remember them doing anything about a gas shortage. I don't remember there being an income crisis because someone got laid off.
And the characters were flawless.
America, people in general, fall into that trap thinking Carol Brady is the perfect, TV mom. This is the way I'm going to be. I'm going to be like Carol Brady. I'm going to have the same house and Mike Brady.
And where's the mail?
But this squeaky clean sitcom had its share of drama. The reviews were lukewarm at best.
This is for Greg.
Back in 1969, shows like The Brady Bunch were just totally sniffed at by TV critics.
No critic really liked us.
And the critics weren't alone. Robert Reed, one of the main actors, detested the series.
I was being forced to work with an actor who resented the show. He didn't want that part. He didn't want to have 6 kids.
Daddy,
He wanted everything to be believable and everything to be realistic and everything to be grounded. And sometimes that was in conflict with the nature of our show.
Hey, do you know your hair is orange?
And luckily, he didn't get his way on the show, because otherwise it would have destroyed any of the innocence that was the show.
Resentment wasn't the only emotion brewing on set. Love was also in the air.
We always had more than just a brother-sister relationship.
She just was kind of, in her little girly way, sort of, ew. So Barry was just knocking on, barking up the wrong tree.
By the 5th series, the Brady kids were growing up fast, causing all kinds of problems.
Did you hear that?
I was just scared to death that they'd have some episode about Cindy getting her first bra.
So they added a new Brady to liven things up.
Cousin Oliver was brought in as a kind of a device.
Oliver! Hey, Oliver!
The writers and network felt that they wanted to keep the show young, and they wanted storylines and plot lines that were featuring kids.
The Brady Bunch was cancelled soon after Oliver's arrival, but the series lived on, becoming much more popular than its initial run.
Dude, gee, I hope nothing's wrong.
It has basically aired in syndication every day since it went off the air in 1974.
You see it in reruns. You get home from school and it's like, that was like your safety net.
There were some people who, caught it on their way to school, caught it on their way when they got home from school when they were doing their homework, and then after dinner, the Brady Bunch happened to be on.
Hi.
The cast reunited time and time again, with varying degrees of success.
I had fun doing the variety show. It's quite silly. And talk about fashion statements. Ow.
When we get together for any kind of a reunion or whatever, it's like I just saw them yesterday. We are forever a family.
And that family would live on in various reincarnations. One of the most popular, the 1995 Brady Bunch movie.
So we go to Paramount and we said, yes, we'll do the Brady Bunch movie, but it has to be a satire.
The great thing about the Brady Bunch is there were so many episodes, but there are 5 or 6 that people will look back on. Greg, Peter, dinner, oh my nose!
More than 35 years after it first aired, the Brady Bunch is as popular as ever. This is the story of how it began, how it grew into a pop culture phenomenon, and how 9 actors became the Brady Bunch.
That's the way we became the Brady Bunch.
The story of the Bradys begins with a story of a man named Sherwood Schwartz. Schwartz wrote and produced comedy for both radio and TV. In 1964, he hit big, with a little show about a lovable group of castaways marooned on a desert island. For 4 series, viewers waited for Gilligan to get off that island. But Schwartz didn't find himself stranded. He'd already begun work on his next creation.
I saw it in one sentence, not even a whole sentence, in the LA Times.
Schwartz read that 30% of all couples had children from previous marriages.
I said to myself, any writer who sees that line in the paper is going to think the same thing I thought. What a great new place for stories.
He hammered out a pilot script about a single woman with 3 daughters marrying a single man with 3 sons. He called it Yours and Mine. Schwartz knew he had a hit, but the networks had other ideas. The script was written as a half-hour sitcom. ABC said,
"We love it. We just want it to be longer."
It began on the wedding day. CBS said,
"We don't want to do how it started."
And the kids end up on the honeymoon. NBC said,
"We love it. Change the ending."
"No can do," said Schwartz. "It's perfect the way it is." The script was shelved. But a few years later, a film called Yours, Mine and Ours was released. It starred Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda as a widowed mother of 8 marrying a widowed father of 10. Sound familiar? ABC finally greenlit Schwartz's pilot, and a production deal followed. The original title was scrapped, and the Brady Bunch was born. We know their names and have our favorite.
Peter, hottest Brady, definitely all time.
I was like, Mike or Greg, younger, older, can't decide. They were hot.
Marcia is the hottest Brady. I don't want to hear any debate on the subject.
And then Peter wound up being pretty hot too. And towards the end when he had the ringlets.
Marcia.
I mean, Marcia kind of looks better on your arm. Marcia, you can sort of take home to the parents, but Jan is the one that will help you steal a car and then blame it on Bobby.
But before they became the characters we know and love, they had to be cast. 1,200 young actors auditioned for the 6 Brady children. Some were more experienced than others.
I'd already worked on shows like Run for Your Life and Dragnet, the FBI.
A talent scout came to the kindergarten, and he picked me to sing a song on the Pat Boone Show.
Invaders, Mod Squad, Gomer Pyle.
I'd really only had one speaking line on television in a Mannix episode.
That Girl, It Takes a Thief.
I had exactly 2 roles in TV commercials. One was a Band-Aid commercial, and one was a paper towel commercial in which you only saw my hands.
Marcus Welby, Mission Impossible.
But acting experience wasn't the priority. Schwartz wanted interesting kids that could pass for siblings.
We never had to really show that we could act.
Sherwood was not interested in actors. He was interested in kids that just had an essence.
Casting Cindy, the youngest, was easy.
I was lisping all over the place and spitting, and Sherwood thought that was really cute.
She explained she had been on a show on Gunsmoke, and she was riding on this horse, and a snake scared the horse, and I was on the floor. She was so funny and so earnest. I didn't know about the rest of the cast, but I was going to cast that little girl right then.
Eventually, 3 blonde girls and 3 dark-haired boys were chosen.
I had kind of strawberry blonde, reddish hair.
So we had to dye his hair a little bit, which he resented.
A second set of kids with opposite color hair was also in the running. The final choice depended on the hair colors of the actors chosen to play the parents. We all know who was chosen to play Mrs. Brady. That's right, Joyce Bulifant. At least, at first.
Joyce Bulifant was persona comedy. When she walked in a room, you knew something funny was going to happen.
Everything was set. That is, until Florence Henderson shook things up. Florence Henderson, Broadway performer, nightclub singer, and New York socialite. Henderson wasn't a comedy actor like Bulifant, but she ended up making a big impression on Schwartz.
And we had a major meeting about that. Mrs. Brady, should she be funny? And that was a big decision.
And the winner was Florence Henderson, of course. Next came Alice, the Brady's live-in housekeeper.
I needed somebody who was now funny in the kitchen. So I said, what we need is Ann B. Davis.
Ann B. Davis cut her teeth in the mid-50s when she starred as Schultzie on The Bob Cummings Show.
Cute. Now do it with the one between your ears.
She was a big name and expensive, but Schwartz wanted her.
A week later, she was in a blue uniform and didn't take it off for 6 years.
They made Alice such a part of their family. They brought her on vacations, yet when she was in the household, she had to wear a maid's uniform.
They never let her change out of her little blue outfit, which I think is against the law.
Schwartz, however, didn't get all his first choices.
My first choice for Mr. Brady was actually Gene Hackman.
At the time, Gene Hackman was virtually unknown. Schwartz thought he was perfect, but studio execs at Paramount didn't. They offered their own choice, actor Robert Reed. Reed was classically trained. He did serious TV dramas and Broadway theatre. A squeaky clean family sitcom wasn't exactly what he had in mind for a career move, but he didn't have much choice.
He signed a deal with Paramount, but that indentured him to that studio.
Bound by his contract, Reed reluctantly signed up for the pilot. The cast was set. Henderson was blonde, Reed dark, so the 6 matching kids were locked in, and a family was born.
That's the way they all became the Brady Bunch. The Brady Bunch. The Brady Bunch. That's the way they became the Brady Bunch.
Schwartz needed a way to remind viewers every week about the complicated background story of this blended family.
Bum, 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 bum. Here's a story.
Here's a story. A lovely lady who is bringing up a very lovely girl.
The Brady Bunch song could probably be used as a torture tactic at this point. It's so ingrained in all of our consciousness.
Here's the story.
The Brady Bunch theme song it's part of the fabric of America. It's like Archie Bunker's chair.
All of them had hair of gold.
Theme song is not just a theme song. It's a rock opera. It tells a tale.
It's the story of a man named Brady.
More people know the lyrics to the Brady Bunch theme song than the national anthem.
They were 4 men living all together.
Yet they were all alone.
4 men living all together, yet they were all alone. I mean, that's some sad stuff.
One day when the lady met the fellow, and they knew that it was much more than a hunch.
So my dad wrote the song, and I say to him, it's much more than a hunch. What does that mean? It's much more than a hunch. He said, I needed a rhyme for bunch.
That this group must somehow form a family.
That's the way they all became the Brady Bunch.
The Brady Bunch.
The Brady Bunch. That's the way
We became
the Brady Bunch.
His script approved, his actors cast, and his theme song written, Schwartz finally saw his pilot coming together. It was quintessential Brady Bunch. Mike and Carol, with their kids in tow, getting married.
Well, aren't you going to kiss the bride? You bet I am.
Chaos ensues at the wedding, and the honeymoon turns into a family affair. But not all the characters in the pilot would show up again.
You see Carol's parents, which you never see again. Fluffy, by the way, who was at the wedding. What happened to Fluffy? Where did Fluffy go? I have no idea.
And don't forget Mike's late wife.
I don't want you to forget your mother, and neither does Carol.
Gee, that's swell. I really like this picture.
So we did the pilot, and I didn't think any more about it. I just thought, well, it'll probably never sell.
With the pilot in the can, the actors went their separate ways. But 1 year later, something extraordinary took place. Not the moon landing. Not the Vietnam War. Not Woodstock. In 1969, ABC gave the Brady Bunch the green light.
I think the Brady Bunch has always been a little bit of an anachronism.
There's so many icky things going on, the war, and the hippie generation was ending, the 60s, free love.
Didn't all fit in. That's probably why it's a success today. It didn't deal with anything culturally relevant or historically relevant or anything that would bind it to time. It's really timeless.
Relevant or not, the Brady Bunch was going into production. But not all the actors could come back immediately.
I love you.
When I got notified that the Brady Bunch was going to be starting, I was in Norway shooting the film, The Song of Norway.
It's cold, it's dismal, it's unfriendly. I hate it.
I couldn't leave the film, so they started without me. And I think they filmed 6 episodes that when I finally got back here, I had to catch up on.
We've been keeping your dinner warm.
Ray will beat her anyway.
The set was up and running. It quickly became a second home to its stars. Child labor laws required that the kids could only film up to 4 hours a day. The rest of the time was spent playing and studying. A small dressing room was converted into a classroom, and the Paramount lot became their playground.
Paramount was sort of a big, dark, dusty playground. Chris Knight and I would play shootout games in the Bonanza set.
I thought I was like a camp counselor uncle, and we treated it very much like a summer camp.
Somebody from Paramount said, you can't have these kids roller skating and riding bikes and doing things where they could get hurt. It's a liability. And Lloyd said, well, if one of them breaks an arm, we'll write it into the script. I'm not going to stop them from being kids.
Since the young actors had limited working hours, the producers needed to find a way to block and light the scenes without using the kids.
We had stand-ins on the series who were little people. We had adult stand-ins, and some of them had even been the Munchkins in The Wizard of Oz, so they were older little people. The kids would grow and the little people wouldn't grow. So they would have these little boxes that they would stand on.
On September the 26th, 1969, the Brady Bunch finally went on air. Schwartz thought he had a hit, but few critics agreed.
I mean, I'm sure there were probably good reactions somewhere, but most of them were like, this is the worst show of the year.
They dismissed it. They said it's a silly, fluffy little sitcom. It won't last more than 12 weeks, but of course they were wrong.
Let's have some smiles here.
Well, it wasn't critically acclaimed because it wasn't good enough. I'm sorry, but, you know, it wasn't a critically acclaimable show, but it was never meant to be. You know, it's like a popcorn movie.
Yay! Team!
But this popcorn movie wasn't selling many tickets. In its 5 years on the air, the Brady Bunch never got high ratings.
ABC was the perennial third-place network. In fact, there was a joke in the late 60s that if you want to cancel the war in Vietnam, put it on ABC, because nobody would watch.
At the end of each series, the cast was never sure they'd be back for another year.
First, it was just a pilot that won't go anywhere. Then it's a series that won't go anywhere. Okay, so we get picked up for the back end of the first season, but it doesn't look like it got picked up for the second season, so never at any point did we really feel uniquely successful.
But somehow the show managed to hang on.
Back in the early 70s, network executives were not as quick as they are today to cancel programs. If a show was performing decently, if not greatly, they kept it on.
Staying on the air was just one of Schwartz's problems. He was also in constant battle with a key member of the cast. As the Brady Bunch went on, the kids got older and the wardrobe got louder. But there was one constant that always left you with that safe feeling: the Brady house.
Carol!
Fans knew the house as if it was their own. They cooked in the kitchen, got romantic in the den,
You know what I think, Mike?
and hung out in the bedrooms.
Mike obviously was an architect, right? So he designs this really groovy house.
And they had like the funny lamps, and they had the funny couches, and their house was all orange and avocado. And then the boys' room was like that early American red, white, and blue with gray paneling and clowns on the wall. There were clowns, oh yes. And the girls had that pretty pink bedroom with the pink flowers.
It was basically a 3-bedroom house. I think Alice had a cot behind the boiler or something. That's where she slept. No windows in her room, if I remember. Just this weird little cement box that she would put her cold cream on and, you know, go to bed in her curlers.
You know, it looked good on paper to be part of the Brady family, but ultimately, the fact that all 6 kids shared one bathroom, not cool.
I mean, Mike's the architect. Isn't that his job to make sure that there's at least one extra bathroom?
2 bedrooms, 6 kids, 1 bathroom with no toilet. I don't know how they got along. I really don't.
But they did get along. You almost forgot they were a blended family.
So, well, in the beginning, they were, you know, very, very different. And there was that episode where, like, I think Mom likes the boys more than us. And then the boys were like, I think Dad likes those smelly oak girls.
By halfway through, they said, yeah, we're a real family. Let's just do a show about 6 brothers and sisters.
The Brady house, however, wasn't always harmonious.
She's talking long enough. He'll just have to wait till I'm finished.
We get a lot of flack for blending together so nicely and unrealistically and being such good kids. But we really were kind of the first siblings to fight on the air.
Hey, what's all the yelling about?
I'll tell what you did yesterday. You little fink.
Squealer. Greg.
Because I felt like it, that's why. What kind of a dumb reason is that?
A few sassy siblings, perhaps, but the show was still plain old wholesome entertainment.
We weren't taking on topical issues of the day, not political issues. We weren't overly sarcastic or negative. We were talking about stages and things that kids go through when they're growing up.
The magic of the Brady Bunch was that it taught simple, meaningful lessons.
You learn don't play ball in the house, not to re-glue vases back together, never leave your playbook out when your brother or sister is dating someone from the opposing team.
The most famous moment, I guess, in the history of the Brady Bunch is Marcia getting hit in the nose with the football.
Hey, you guys. Oh, my nose! Marcia!
That's not the most Shakespearean kind of line, oh my nose. But it is pretty famous.
Hey, you guys. Oh, my nose!
Then there's the replaying of it 8 million times in the episode.
Hey, you guys. Oh, my nose! Oh, my nose! Oh, my nose!
The series may have had low ratings, but by the third series, the faces of the Bradys were everywhere. Lunchboxes, comics. Even a Saturday morning animated series got called The Brady Kids. The young actors were teen idols. Maureen McCormick even wrote an advice column for a teen magazine. But then Brady Mania went a little too far. The Bradys started singing.
The Bradys became a singing group out of sort of an evolution. First we did the theme song, then we were invited to do a Christmas album. Then we started to record more albums.
And on weekends, instead of having the weekend off, they'd haul us around in these Volkswagen buses to stores where they were having promotional appearances to try to sell the album.
They called themselves the Brady Bunch Kids. They were touring and even singing on the show.
Those were my favorite episodes, were the singing episodes.
They were like the Caucasian Jackson 5.
You had Greg Brady as Johnny Bravo. Where do you think John Bon Jovi got all his moves? I don't think he'd have them without Johnny Bravo.
But not every Brady enjoyed the musical spotlight.
We had one tone-deaf kid named Chris Knight.
I hated the fact that we had to become singers.
'Cause it's time to change, you've got to rearrange.
I mean, it's like, hello. I mean, anybody want to talk to me about this? Because I can't sing, you know? So if you want to do more music, knock yourself out. But I don't want to be part of it.
Maybe they couldn't make beautiful music together, but more than 30 years after the Brady Bunch went off the air, they still strike a chord with millions of fans.
I'm a very proud Brady fan. Most people look at me very strange when I say I'm really into the Brady Bunch.
I remember my friends and I, you would have the old tape recorder and you'd do lines from the Brady Bunch. We would have Marcia cry-alike contests at the lunch table in junior high. Greg, is it unbelievable that we are still talking about your show 30 years later? I know. Yes, I know. We're crazy.
It's hard not to look back nostalgically at the classic moments and wholesome characters of the Brady Bunch. But we mustn't forget its sense of fashion. Over the years, we've known many TV mums. But few personified groovy better than the beautiful matriarch Carol Brady.
I think Carol Brady was absolutely the best TV mom.
Carol Brady was perfect.
She was still glamorous, still styling, young, cute, pretty, sensitive, handy with a needle and thread.
When she wasn't dispensing wisdom, she was dispensing the lunch bags. She was warm, she was supportive.
But not all TV mums are created equal. There's been everything from conservative to wholesome to just plain loud. Carol Brady didn't work, but others did, like Shirley Partridge.
When I decided to do the Partridge Family, I was very excited about it because I was the first working mom in television. And that was very liberating for all the ladies of the day, you know, to see a mother that wasn't just taking a roast out of the oven.
Carol Brady lived in the 70s, but she faced few issues associated with that decade. Unlike Kitty Foreman on That 70s Show.
Well, we've got like an enormous amount of smoke in the basement, which they did not have in the Brady Bunch. Don't remember with the Brady Bunch, with anybody ever losing their job. I'm certainly not setting out to be a role model. I mean, Kitty smokes. She's got a smoking problem. She's got a drinking issue. She's got some stuff. She's got stuff.
Oh, no!
Today, Carol Brady would have a hard time surviving on TV.
There aren't too many moms on television today. I mean, television is reality shows today.
She's a far cry from the reality TV mums like the ones found on The Osbournes or Growing Up Gotti.
Frank, no. You're not going to the diner at 3:30 in the morning. You know what? Throw the ball in the house again. In my household, we're very, very strong-minded, vocal people. Meaning, when we fight hard. When we love hard.
I was joking around with John!
Something to think about. You go inside.
I was joking around!
Get out of here.
I was joking around. I did nothing. I was joking around with John.
How many homes do the moms look like June Cleaver, look like Carol Brady, walk out all dolled up, sit down with their children and say, now, Beaver, we should really talk about this.
She was wholesome, level-headed, and stylish. Who wouldn't want to be like her?
Ariane, get up.
Susan Barry is a working mother of one who wishes she were more like Carol Brady.
I don't think she would lose it with her kids. She would be really patient without somehow it becoming World War III in your house. That would be a really good thing to learn.
Susan's getting a chance to step into the shoes. She's having a Carol Brady makeover.
I think it would be fun to sort of look neat, like every hair is in place. My makeup is, I have makeup. I can't remember the last time I wore makeup. I'm gonna look different. I'm gonna act like Carol Brady.
Oh, yeah? That means you won't yell at me.
Exactly.
Hey, Susan. I'm Justin. It's nice to meet you.
When it comes to style, Carol Brady will be forever remembered for her hairstyles.
Well, these were her two main hairstyles that she'll say. We'll definitely keep with the straighter bangs through here and pull them over to the side. And what we'll do is we'll do a really cool updo. I think that's pretty cool, don't you?
My first hairdo, that was a wig, which I called the bubble do. Yes, big head of hair. And of course the hairstyles went on from there.
It was very prim, very high cut. And then as the years go by, her hair becomes less bouffant. She starts doing the shag. She starts setting trends.
That shag haircut was like the Rachel haircut. Like, women started adapting their hair to that.
The most famous one, with the flip, everyone just went wild over.
Now I want to have a housekeeper.
I need a station wagon. Station wagon and a convertible.
Carol wasn't the only Brady with memorable hair.
Mike went through many phases. He started out with the Caesar, which was the most handsome, I think. And then it got a little longer. Then he did the curly perm, probably around 74, which was like a big thing, which didn't look bad on him, I have to say.
And he was really one of the first white men with perms on TV.
Mike Brady got a perm and then made all the other boys get perms.
What would a 70s makeover be without a little bit of blue eyeshadow?
This is wild. Thank you so much.
It was an instant success, but Brady's style wasn't just from the neck up. Take a look at its hot sense of fashion.
Striped shirts and with polka dot ties.
Lots of double knit.
They had the hip puckers and the bell bottoms.
Tomato reds and pale blues.
Paisley was a huge thing in the 70s.
Knit ponchos.
Seersucker shirts, polyester suits.
Lots of psychedelic flower power.
A-line skirt, 70s polyester dresses.
Carol was wearing all these kind of full, short skirts with kind of scoop necks. Very Oscar de la Renta, I might add.
But the Brady kids didn't necessarily feel so hip.
Brady fashion is, pretty unfashionable. We didn't dress that well. Other people really didn't dress like that.
I hated wearing Brady fashion. A lot of those shirts were hideously uncomfortable.
The Bradys had the fashions that would not die but should have been shot on sight.
Hi, you must be Susan.
Yes.
I'm Elaine. I'm here to transform you into Carol Brady.
Fantastic.
I think Carol Brady was a pretty stylish mom. I think she's, you know, as the Bradys would say, I thought she was far out, she was neato, she was groovy, she was out of sight.
In the earlier shows, she was a lot more conservative, like this. She was still kind of like a holdover from like the 50s housewife.
Okay, I'll be right out. What do you think?
Oh my God, look at you.
Is this Carol Brady
What do you think?
Carol started off a little kind of frumpy and a little more religious, right-wing, church-going mom. She became more stylish. She started wearing brighter colors as the season moved on. And as she was aging and the kids were growing up, she was staying contemporary with them. And I think that helps you believe that she's kind of a cool, hip mom who understands what's going on.
I mean, I'm ready to boogie. You know?
We're gonna work our way towards season 5, where she's all out mod. How about this?
Perfect for entertaining.
The paisleys and the plaids with the stripes, and you know, you could get dizzy just watching our clothes. But at the time, they didn't seem so bad. I wouldn't put on a pair of bell bottoms now for anything.
What do you think your daughter's gonna think when she sees you? And
I think she is really gonna crack up.
Hey, you must be Ariane.
Yeah.
So you think she's gonna look like Carol Brady?
I don't know. The way she looked this morning, I didn't think it was possible.
All right. Okay, why don't we bring her out?
Oh it doesn't look like you at all.
my Carol! I'm Carol. There's gonna be 5 other little kids at home now when you get there.
You look so different.
I'm feeling like I belong in a beautiful home with my 6 obedient children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was fun.
The Brady Bunch was a stylish show with a cool, hip mum. People remember its fashion almost as much as they remember its episodes. Although the outfits were bright, the mood on the set didn't always match. The actors and producers were finding that life as a Brady wasn't as squeaky clean as you might expect. The 9 cast members of the Brady Bunch always portrayed their characters with quintessential Brady good nature. The real drama was taking place behind the scenes. 6 adolescents were growing up in front of the lens and behind. Like real siblings, they each had distinct personalities.
Barry Williams was a guy who always wanted to be older. He always wanted to be mature. He would use a lot of big words and get them all wrong.
And they didn't always get on.
This is what I never liked about Barry during the show, is he was like 40 years old. Oh, he was 14. That we had nothing in common. There was nothing in life about me and about where I was that was interesting to him.
It's normal not to like your siblings, but that wasn't the only emotion on set. It was also home to more than a little brotherly love.
Barry was interested in anything and everything, and Maureen was right there, and the rest of the world was in love with her, and so was he.
It certainly didn't escape my eyes that Maureen was developed into a very, very attractive young lady. And we had all these opportunities to be in these great places. We were traveling together, we'd get in limousines together, we were doing promotional events together, rehearsing together, making television shows together, and liked each other. So throughout most of the show, in an on-again, off-again situation, we were kind of hooking up.
We did have problems in one episode when they were sitting together on a bed. Usually when we shoot a thing, it takes 3 takes to see it done. This went to 13 takes because I noticed when Barry would come over and start to talk to Maureen, there was like heat rising in this scene, and they were supposed to be brother and sister.
It was clear that Barry had the hots for Maureen, but not all the feelings were mutual.
No, there wasn't any dating. There was just flirtation. He was interested in her, but she was pretty angelic and just wise enough to understand his swarthy ways.
And Maureen wasn't Barry's only target. For years, gossips churned out stories that Greg Brady went out with his TV mum.
I was very aware Barry had a crush on me.
I had a crush on Florence Henderson from the time I met her. I still do.
And he loved music. and I was a musical performer.
As I was turning 16, I invited her to go out on a date.
It was really so sweet. It was a very sweet, innocent evening.
I gave her a hug and reached up and gave her a kiss.
I think I kissed him on the cheek.
On the lips.
Why, he was just hitting on everyone, wasn't he? I bet he took Alice out too. Jeez. Terrible.
Hi, Ma.
The Brady family was fictional, but the actors often felt like they were playing themselves.
You can't help but to have a character when you're that age that ultimately the writers are writing to the individual who's playing the character. They're writing to your strengths, they're writing to your essences.
I don't think it'd make a very good jury. This is just too much.
I don't think when they wrote Jan originally, she was a crisis child with with this identity problem. But over time, Eve's, essence, gave them that, and she played it so well that they played on it continuously.
But not all were just like their characters.
Susan was a very, very, very old soul in curls. She might be W.C. Fields reincarnated as Cindy.
I didn't understand why it was cute that Cindy was stupid. Things like, why do you give me peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? Because, Cindy, they're your favorite. And, oh yeah, I keep forgetting. I didn't understand why that was funny. And I used to talk to my mom and say, why, is Cindy retarded?
Marcia, I'm proud to be your sister, no matter how terrible you look.
When it came to the three adults, one was loved, one respected, and the other feared.
Everybody loved Florence, and everybody does love Florence. She's the hardest working woman and just so comfortable in front of the camera. And I could depend upon her always to be there, give her best.
She's real, both warm, but like a mom, you could push her so far, and then you know that there was a boundary there and that you better toe the line. And that was good.
Ann B. Davis earned similar praise.
Ann B. Davis was a trip. I was so very aware of her being a comedic veteran.
Ann B. is just a consummate professional.
Wonderfully talented, gifted.
Not as much the jokester as you would think. She's so professional that all of her joking was sort of like in front of the lens. And tolerant, to a point, of all of us.
But one actor wasn't nearly as even as the character he played.
I had a lot of trouble with Bob Reed.
Mike Brady was calm and cool, but Robert Reed was the opposite.
He was with a Shakespeare company in England for a year or 2 years. So now, movies were beneath him, so you can imagine how he felt about TV.
He didn't want to work with kids or dogs or, any of this trite material. And he did. So he's sort of bitter the entire time.
Reed thought the show was too simple, too cheesy, the scenarios unrealistic. He sometimes demanded rewrites.
He was perfectionistic, and I think that was problematic for him because there just wasn't time.
Reed clashed with Sherwood Schwartz.
He would always have his moments after the kids went home, and then he'd look at the camera and say, Sherwood Schwartz, I hope you fry in hell for this.
Sometimes his changes would have destroyed the script. And there were a couple of shows when he was either not written completely out of a show because he was just impossible to deal with.
Oh, that'll be $2.
The last episode of the series was an example. In the episode, Bobby sells Greg a tonic that turns his hair orange.
So, okay, he gets the script, and he's just the most ridiculous thing he ever saw, and I won't do this script. So when I got to the studio, I immediately ordered new scripts without him in the whole show. His agent called me and said, I understand he was taken out of the script. I said, he took himself out of the script.
But Reed wasn't all bad. He hated the show, but he loved his co-stars.
Robert Reed was a fabulous man who treated us like gold.
Bob is exactly the way I think an adult should be with a kid in a working situation. He would listen to our opinions as though we were talking about Shakespeare. He was always proud of us.
I think not only did he love us, but he saw great potential in all of us. And he also saw the potential for great harm to children growing up in that environment. And he wanted to protect us from that.
The Brady kids may have been one of the most consistent things in his life.
Reed had divorced years before and had a daughter he rarely saw. He made the Brady family his own. He gave the kids lavish gifts, including Super 8 movie cameras, and even took them on a trip to London on his own. Reed may not have rated the show, but professionally he will always be remembered for his portrayal of Mike Brady.
Bob fought a lot for the integrity of the show. I think that his battles, the ones that had a purpose, really did serve the show well. And I think the show itself plays so much better because of how Bob plays the father. He makes it almost seem real to have a payphone in your den.
Right again, my dear Watson.
That's elementary, my dear. I'm elementary.
However dysfunctional behind the camera, on screen, the Brady Bunch was nothing but peace and love. Especially between the parents.
We just did.
Mike and Carol Brady. Calm, cool, and collected. The ideal parents. What's more, they were sexy. Unlike those uptight TV couples of the 50s, they had romance in their marriage. Mike and Carol loved each other and showed it.
Mike and Carol Brady spent a lot of time being romantic, or as far as TV would allow couples to be romantic in the early 1970s. They kissed and exchanged sweet nothings.
We'll find out.
Michael Brady, you stop that or I'll...
You're what?
You actually had the feeling that we really loved each other and that we would actually have sex. You know? What a novelty.
Get you.
Mike would call on the phone. He'd be at his architect's office at his drafting table, looking quite timeless, I might add. And he'd call and say, "Is dinner ready?" And then she'd say, "Mike, no, I haven't had a chance." And then he'd say, "Are you making my favorite dish?" And then Carol would say, "I'm right here." She was saucy, was sexy, for the era.
They didn't neglect their parenting duties either.
Mike Brady was always known for his lectures. So you go to a problem, you get, well, now, Greg, let's think about this for just a minute.
I want you to listen to me very carefully.
What reason shall I give him?
The truth, Peter. Just tell him the truth. You can go now.
I remember when I was growing up, I would say, I'm going to run away and move in with the Brady Bunch. That was my threat to my parents. They're like, yeah, go ahead. Good luck. There's no room on the stairs for you.
So many children asked to join the Bradys, Paramount had to send out a standard letter explaining that they were not actually a real family.
The Brady Bunch was an ideal. The appeal was it represented a longing, and even a fantasy, if you will, for kids who were in homes with a lot of conflict. Jan was the classic middle child, very much in the shadow of Marcia.
I think Jan definitely took her fair share of crap.
Well, all I hear all day long at school is how great Marcia is at this, or how wonderful Marcia did that. Marcia, Marcia, Marcia.
Marcia, Marcia, Marcia.
Marcia, Marcia, Marcia.
Most people think, for example, that Marcia, Marcia, Marcia was in every episode of the Brady Bunch. She only said it once.
Some of us are good at one thing and some of us are good at another.
You can tell that they're struggling to try and have Jan find ways in which she has mastery at some things.
That's one thing my sister's never done.
Well, she certainly is working hard at it.
I sure hope she makes it, Dad.
Well, I think she'd like to know that. Why don't you tell her?
They also involve Marcia in their sensitivity. They get Marcia to take on some of the parenting role, which was really excellent.
I was watching you rehearse before, and I just want you to know I think you're doing great. Wow, thanks.
What's wrong with teaching a child to tell the truth, to honor their parents, if they fight with their siblings, to forgive them, make up?
You know, it was kind of uncomfortable to watch because the viewer knows
oh dear God, she's horrendous at this. She's not athletic at all. You know, it's a tough situation for parents. I mean, what do? You go in and you crush them. I think they did all that they could do.
Gloria Harper, Katie Rand, Judy Smith, and Laura Richmond.
You know, one of the critiques today about parenting is that parenting refuses to allow kids to fail. I mean, part of growing up is accepting what you can do, what you couldn't do. I think the Brady Bunch did a good job, and that was a good illustration of it, of letting their kids take their lumps.
Well, Jan, sometimes when we lose, we win.
Mike and Carol were ideal parents, but they were scripted that way. Raising stepchildren in real life is rarely so simple. One family in Tucson, Arizona knows that firsthand. Sherry Calderon has 3 sons. Her husband, Amado, has 3 daughters. They met, married, and now live as a blended family, just like the Brady Bunch. Or maybe not.
So it's barbecue burgers. We use this quite a bit.
It's not a Brady Bunch scenario. It's bringing 2 separate families under one roof, and there's a lot of struggles there.
The Brady Bunch, I kind of thought, this is like the perfect family. Everybody's always around the house, everyone's always helping each other.
Our stepbrothers, we don't really talk to them that much.
Well, we didn't even watch TV in the same room.
I don't think anybody was raised exactly like the Bradys.
There were no ex-spouses. I don't even know what happened to Carol's ex-husband or Mike's ex-wife. You never heard about them.
I think Carol Brady had her husband killed.
I think Carol's first husband called her a stinker and she tampered with his brakes.
Did Carol ever have a job? She had a maid?
I wanted Carol Brady to have a job. I would beg, give her a career, for God's sake.
On the Brady Bunch, they were always having dinner together.
I think every Sunday night they kind of force us together and they try to have like a nice family dinner, but usually it's, everyone for themselves at dinner.
The Bradys lived in a fictional world filled with ideal parents, well-behaved children, and problems that could be solved in a half-hour slot. But even in the Brady world, not everything was perfect. Ratings were low, and competition was growing. The Brady Bunch would eventually reach the end of its brightly colored rope. The Brady Bunch churned out wholesome entertainment. But as the show progressed and ratings at best remained mediocre, the creators were always looking for something to add a little spark. They decided to take the show on the road.
We loved it when we got a chance to get out of the studio, because you go to work in the dark, you go home in the dark, and you're on this soundstage all the time.
Series 3 began with a family trip to the Grand Canyon. Series 5 had the family at an amusement park in Ohio. But the most famous Brady travel adventure was the Series 4 3-parter.
Mike, where are we going?
Hawaii!
Going to the Grand Canyon was wonderful, but Hawaii was kind of a dream come true. I just thought, oh wow, we're going to paradise. And it's even more fun when you're going on somebody else's dime.
The Hawaii episodes were my favorite just simply because we got out of the set and we got to go to Hawaii, and that was my first time there.
They were there to work, but it was almost like their own family holiday.
I remember the first day that we were there. All of us, the whole family, went out in the ocean, and I remember Bob had me on his shoulders, and I very much remember people turning around looking at, whoa, is that, oh, there's that one and that one. And I thought, I bet they think that we're a real family. And there was also the thought of, I hope they think we're a real family. because I was very proud of that.
Packed with sun, surf, hula dancing, and cursed tiki idols, the Hawaii episodes have some of the most memorable Brady moments of all time. But one famous moment was almost deadly in real life.
So I'm surfing, and I look, and here's this coral head. I was able to do a somersault, and instead of hitting the coral with my head, I stopped my momentum with my feet. Good news for my head, bad news for my feet. But we got the shot.
The Hawaii shows featured guest appearances by Don Ho and Vincent Price. Desi Arnaz Jr. popped up in another episode. Marsha went to the prom with Davy Jones. And Bobby got to catch a football thrown by Joe Namath. One unlikely fan even seemed a little starstruck when he visited the set.
The things I remember about Henry Kissinger is that it was a very big deal. There was security, and I remember that he actually seemed impressed that he was there, as much as we were impressed that he was with us.
The Brady Bunch was traveling and hobnobbing with celebrities, but their time was nearly up. Back in 1969, when the Brady Bunch started, it ran alongside other mild-mannered sitcoms.
Beverly Hillbillies, Green Acres, Petticoat Junction, The Lucy Show. You had a lot of very folksy, ordinary sitcoms. I mean, basically, it could have been 1959.
But tastes were changing, and so was TV. Archie Bunker, the bigoted patriarch from All in the Family, arrived, a far cry from Mike Brady. Mary Tyler Moore showed up, who, unlike Carol Brady, was an independent working woman. Soon, Good Times, Chico and the Man, Sanford and Son. Ethnic comedies that dealt with real-life problems like poverty and racism started. By the mid-70s, the Brady Bunch seemed dated. And behind the scenes, the writers were dealing with a growing problem of a different kind.
The writers are having a hard time figuring out what the heck to do with Cindy because she's not this cute little thing. And I was getting awkward. I mean, I had these horrible Mary Pickford curls, and I got braces, and I just wanted to go hide in the closet.
The 6 young actors were getting older. The writers could no longer treat the characters like little kids. The adorable stars were losing their cute.
The executive charge of our show at Paramount felt that it needed freshening up so far as young kids are concerned, because the kids were growing up.
Well, I merely found out that we're going to have an addition to the family.
So he wanted to add another kid to the mix, a younger kid. I must confess, I did not think that was necessary. I felt that creatively we could still manage.
It didn't matter. Paramount wanted a new kid, so the Bradys got a new kid. Towards the end of the 5th series, the Bradys took in Carol's nephew, a cute little blonde tyke named Oliver.
Wow, I should have moved in with you guys years ago! Come on, Oliver!
Rather than having Greg go on to college and start to deal with college issues and things like that, they wanted to write shows about the younger kids, and Robbie Rist, who was brought in as Cousin Oliver, to be adopted by the Bradys. Now we had a very different sort of direction for our show to go, and as evidenced by the fact that we were canceled shortly after that, I don't think it was maybe the best direction to take the Bradys.
There is no such thing as a jinx.
We think it's good luck to have you here with us.
I thought so too, but there sure is a lot of evidence on the other side.
Was Cousin Oliver responsible for the demise of the show? Now, in my quieter, more egocentric times, I love to think that. However, no.
The kids grew up,
And Bobby and Cindy were a little bit too old to be cute. They were kind of in that awkward stage. Oliver came on. He looked like a mini John Denver.
I am not John Denver's kid, no.
You had 6 kids already. You had the housekeeper. You had the parents. There were enough people that could interact together. They didn't have to throw the cousin in there.
We didn't know that the show was going to be canceled until really the last minute. I think Sherwood Schwartz and the creative people probably knew, and they brought in Cousin Oliver, which I think was a huge mistake. That was our demise.
I only did the last 6 episodes of the show, so that means, what, I killed it in 6 weeks? Man, that's powerful. That's powerful stuff.
The new young child doesn't end the show. The show is dying, and they're trying to spark new life into it. So poor Robbie Rist has been blamed for the demise of the Brady Bunch. This is not true. He's not responsible.
Cousin Oliver may have arrived in time to deliver the last rites, but it was a poor widowed junkman who put the nail in the coffin. Sanford and Son, starring Red Fox, came on opposite the Brady Bunch in 1972. At the end of Series 5, network executives chose not to renew the Brady Bunch.
It's funny how you find out that your show has been canceled. You know, the first people who know that are the people who paint your name on your parking space. All of a sudden you arrive one day and your name is gone. They know before anybody.
It felt to me like a lot of things were undone. We didn't really have closure. We never got to do a final episode. I didn't really get to say goodbye to everybody in person, which is very common. It just kind of left an empty hole.
I mean, frankly, I was happy because I was halfway through my 11th grade season. There was a lot of things in high school that I was missing at that point and wanted.
I remember thinking, gee whiz, that's too bad, and hooray, I'm gonna get a summer vacation.
America's TV Family went off air in 1974, but not for long. Soon the Bradys would return, and the show would grow into the cultural icon it is today.
I think once it hit syndication is when things got, completely out of control.
It may not have been all that popular during its run on ABC, but the Brady Bunch was ripe for syndication.
It was a great show that could be on in the afternoon, and it was safe. Your parents knew you weren't going to see anything racy.
Especially if you were like a latchkey child and like no one's at home, you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? We're going to watch Gilligan's Island, we're going to watch the Brady Bunch.
Kids too young to remember the show in primetime became intimately familiar with every episode. For nearly 4 decades, the original episodes of the Brady Bunch have aired.
Over time, it insidiously sort of, ingrained itself in the zeitgeist of America,
And that's just the tip of the Brady Bunch pop culture iceberg. In January of 1977, the Bradys followed in the footsteps of Sonny and Cher and the Osmonds with their very own variety show.
Probably somebody had put some LSD in a TV programmer's coffee one day and came up with the idea of having the Brady Bunch host a variety show.
Singing, dancing, skits and guest stars. An all-out surreal extravaganza.
When I got a Brady call, I wasn't really all that excited about it. But then the producers would say, well, Barry, we know that you and Florence Henderson are the only two with talent. So it's really going to be the Florence Henderson-Barry Williams show, but we're going to have everybody else around. And so, ultimately you get seduced into going and doing this kind of a thing. And then it turns out, of course, that they're telling everybody that.
I said yes to it, under the condition that all I had to do was the opening and closing numbers, and the rest of it would be skit-oriented. Of course, that's not the way that it worked out.
Only one of the originals chose not to return. Eve Plum had just starred in a film as a teenage runaway. Distancing herself from Jan, she declined to do the variety show.
And that's Jan.
Jerry Rochelle took her place and would forever suffer the nickname Fake Jan.
All going wrong. Why couldn't I have been one of the Waltons?
But one of the original actors was surprisingly present.
You know, what's so insane, as much as Robert Reed didn't think the Brady Bunch was worthy of him and you know, fought so hard for credibility, and why did he do the variety hour?
Look at me. Look what they made me wear.
Maybe it was his love for his TV family, or just his love for the stage.
The thing that really gets me is like everybody pretty much views that time of our lives as, you know, that was the mistake. That was the gig that we shouldn't have done. And we all realized that it was a train wreck. But you look at Bob, he's having a blast. And he's not very good at the singing and dancing. He is having a blast. He's loving it.
Perhaps Reed was happy that his old sparring partner wasn't in charge. The Brady Bunch Hour was produced by children's TV producers Sid and Marty Krofft, not by Sherwood Schwartz.
They went ahead and did a show because NBC wanted a show, a variety show with my characters. So I resented the whole thing, and I had nothing to do with it.
This was the only Brady creation not to bear Sherwood Schwartz's name. Only 8 episodes were produced.
The Brady Bunch Variety Hour was basically the lamest, most cheese-tastic extravaganza of minimalist talent on television at the time.
So we had to watch the Brady Bunch Variety Hour, and it was, I don't know, quite possibly one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, hold it, everybody. This is not going to work.
The Brady Bunch Hour was even ranked as the 4th worst show of all time in 2002. Once again, the beloved Brady family would disappear from prime time. And once again, they would be back a few years later. In 1981, Sherwood Schwartz returned with a TV film that eventually became a sitcom called The Brady Brides. Marcia and Jan were getting married. Greg was a doctor. Peter was in the Air Force. Bobby and Cindy were in college. And Carol had a job. All the original actors were there, even, once again, Robert Reed.
At that time, Bob was doing a play in New York, and I didn't even bother to call him. He heard about it. Now, he didn't like me, but he liked the kids, and he liked Florence.
And so he was in some Broadway show, and I think he bought himself out to come back, and he said nobody's going to give those girls away except their dad.
Once again, the show was short-lived. It was cancelled within the year. Fans would wait 7 more years for a 2-hour Christmas special called A Very Brady Christmas. High drama. Marriages were falling apart. Kids were dropping out of school, and Mike almost died in a work accident. Susan Olsen was missing. An actress named Jennifer Runyon played Cindy. The Bradys as drama. Viewers liked it. It was CBS's highest-rated TV film in 1988 and paved the way for a 1-hour drama called simply The Bradys.
The Bradys was high drama, you know, real troubling life issues. And the public agreed more or less with the critics that said, hey, guys, this doesn't wash. You've got these Bradys that we know from that series that we loved so much, and now they're doing this deep drama with the occasional laugh, and it didn't play.
The show was cancelled after 6 episodes. 1990 saw the end of the Bradys we knew and loved. The original actors would never revive their roles altogether again. But this wasn't the end of the Brady Bunch. The 90s would bring a whole new take. Parody. In 1990, The Bradys, the short-lived dramatic series, went off the air almost as quickly as it arrived. Audiences couldn't handle the comic TV family doing serious roles. Finally, the actors would go their separate ways. By 1990, Robert Reed's health was quickly declining.
When we did the last Brady show, I didn't think Bob looked right.
For 2 years, while teaching Shakespeare at UCLA, Reed fought a losing battle with his illness.
I found out that Robert Reed was ill when he called me one day. I said, "What's the matter, Robert?" And he said, "I have colon cancer." And I said, "Well, are you going to be all right?" He said, "Oh, I think so." I would keep in touch with him, and he would always tell me that he was going to make it, that he was fine. And then one day he called me and he said that he wasn't going to make it. And would I tell the kids?
What did surprise me is that he went down so quickly. I thought that I had plenty of time to write him a letter, go visit him. Before I could really get anything together, I got the next phone call from Florence saying that he had passed away.
He was too young, 59 years old, too young, unexpected and unfortunate.
I was sad, I mean, very sad. I mean, he had a lot of life left in him, and a lot more probably to accomplish in his career.
I remember thinking, there's no chance that we will ever be whole again because there's one missing.
So we were all very affected by it. It was very sad.
Later, it was revealed that the cancer was AIDS-related. Fans were stunned to find out that Robert Reed, the actor who played one of TV's most beloved husbands and fathers, was gay.
I definitely think that people probably were shocked and more than likely didn't believe it or didn't want to believe it when they found out that Robert Reed was gay.
I don't think that he was ever comfortable with himself. And so the fact that he had guarded that secret and to have it exposed after he died really angered me. And also angered me because I was hoping that people would just assume, well, geez, if Dad Brady can get AIDS, anybody can. And so I was kind of hoping that it would help bring public awareness about AIDS, but instead it just, made everybody gossip about Bob.
Although the 90s brought tragedy, it was also the decade that elevated the Brady Bunch into its pop culture status. For nearly 2 decades, syndicated reruns of the Brady Bunch were playing time and time again.
Your nose!
By the early 90s, the vast majority of Brady Bunch fans had never even seen the series originally.
Well, the fans absolutely love the show. And the thing about the Brady Bunch is that we keep getting a new generation of fans.
Fans began looking back with nostalgia. There was something endearing about this corny but lovable series. In 1991, a stage show called The Real Live Brady Bunch opened. Actors dressed like the Brady characters performed actual episodes from the series. It was a huge success.
Marcia, Marcia, Marcia!
The first time I saw the Real Life Brady Bunch, I lived in D.C. I saw it at the Kennedy Center, and because I knew the shows and loved the shows, I could sit there and obviously do the dialogue all the way through.
Don't worry, Greg. I'm sure by Friday my voice will be just swell.
I remember when I moved to New York, I went and they asked Brady a trivia questions. I won. I got to go on stage. It was my own first taste of fame and glory.
By the mid-90s, Sherwood Schwartz and his son Lloyd thought it was time to cash in on the nostalgia bandwagon.
They say, would you do a Brady movie? And we said, fine. And then Dad and I talked and we said, this is not a movie unless we do it as a satire. This was a big step because we had done Brady Bunch and we knew that, and now we were going to make fun of ourselves.
The Brady Bunch film cast 9 new actors as our beloved Bradys. They all portrayed the characters with deadpan accuracy. Veteran actors Gary Cole and Shelley Long played Mike and Carol, but one young actress truly stood out.
Well, Christine Taylor, if this is possible, she actually out-Marcia'd Marcia.
When I met Sherwood Schwartz, he couldn't stop talking about the resemblance to Maureen.
I was so startled when she walked into the room and said hello. She said hello, and I thought it was Maureen McCormick saying hello, and I looked at her face, and she had Maureen McCormick's face. I couldn't get it. It was like somebody's playing a practical joke on me.
The Bradys were back in all their 70s glory. Filled with much self-reference and in-jokes, it was a hit, spawning 2 further sequels. The Brady Bunch grew into a pop culture phenomenon.
For a while there, it was very uncool to be a former Brady. And now it's very, very cool.
I did a mini-series with Brooke Shields, and on the first day, Brooke Shields said, "Where is he? I heard he was on this show." And she walked up to me and she said, "I just wanted to shake your hand and say, it's so cool that you're here and you're an American icon." And I said, "Thanks, Brooke."
I'm very confident that 100% of everybody knows about the Brady Bunch. It's used in vernacular. Politicians use it. It's a reference point.
And the last time interest rates were this low, the Brady Bunch wasn't even in reruns yet.
You could use the term, like in the Brady's house, and people get it. If you're looking for something in a furniture store, you can say, looking for a sofa, I don't know, something like the Bradys would have had. It clicks.
The original Brady actors have all moved on. Florence Henderson never shied from the spotlight. For years, she sold oil in commercials and hosted a TV cooking show, while continuing to perform on stage.
Hi, I'm Florence Henderson.
She also sold her own line of jewelry and accessories on the Shop at Home network. Maureen McCormick is a loving wife and mother and has starred in some independent features. Eve Plum is an artist. Her paintings and sculptures are shown publicly. Barry Williams performs in stage shows. Chris Knight is back in the spotlight thanks to reality TV. Susan Olsen and Mike Lookinland have both moved behind the camera into television production.
Right now, I work as the first assistant cameraman on a WB show called Everwood.
Ann B. Davis retired to live in Texas. And let's not forget Cousin Oliver.
I do voiceover work. Another weird sidebar, iconic weird thing is I was Michelangelo in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies.
But whether they like it or not, the actors will always be remembered for their roles in the Brady Bunch.
The reality is if you're a Brady and you're on a show that lasts for 35 years, it's a very limiting box to live inside of, and you don't have to. I mean, but you have to find ways of breaking out of it.
You know, I was always doing other TV on my time off, or performing in musicals, or doing my nightclub act. I was always doing other things. So for me, the Brady Bunch was part of the fabric of my career, but certainly wasn't my career.
There's nothing about the Brady Bunch that I am not just thrilled and proud of. But again, it's an aspect of myself. It is not totally me.
This quaint little show that lasted only 5 series became more popular than anyone could ever have imagined.
I think the Brady Bunch still goes on because, as cheesy as the presentation can be, there's always a really good moral ending.
I think the reason that the Brady Bunch is still popular 30 years later is the universal themes that it portrays. Getting teased, going for your driver's license, getting the lead in the school play. These are things that people can still relate to.
They're timeless. I think generations to come for another 30 years could probably enjoy the Brady Bunch.
It only existed on television, But the family it created became closer than many real families.
We genuinely liked each other and got along, and that's a quality that you can't fake. You can't write it, you can't pretend it. It exists or it doesn't exist, and in our case, it did, and I think that translates through the screen.
The Brady Bunch is like a time capsule. It will always have a special place in the history of television sitcoms.
Every family, I don't care how perfect they seem, are dysfunctional, starting with my own. But I think what it represented was this gentle, sweet, loving story